Thank you to my husband for guidance and Solomon Ben Zimra for scholarly support. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay, welcome everyone, rabbis, community leaders, friends, our Yazidi guests, thank you. The Jews are the indigenous people of the land of Israel. Okay, not too loud? Fine. A sovereign nation for long periods, beginning 3,000 years ago, east of the Jordan River and west to the Mediterranean Sea. Palestine was the name the Roman occupiers gave to the Jewish homeland centuries before Islam. The San Remo Resolution, codified in the 1922 Mandate for Palestine, was unanimously approved by the League of Nations, and Britain, as the mandatory, was legally bound to facilitate the return of the Jewish people to Palestine, Eretz Yisrael, land of Israel. The Arabs were given 96% of the Middle East. Palestine, Eretz Yisrael, east of the Jordan River, was illegally taken by Britain towards the later creation of an Arab state in Palestine, presently called Jordan. In slide number 1, we see that Palestine, under international law, meant all the land only west of the Jordan River now, including Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. 1939 LaRousse Dictionary is the flag for the Jewish homeland. In slide number 3, the stamp with Rachel's tomb, one sees the Aleph Yud standing for Eretz Yisrael, land of Israel, with the name Palestine, thus Palestine, Eretz Yisrael. My husband has this stamp from his childhood, and he, along with others in this room, like Hannah, is a Palestinian. In slide 4, the 1936 Palestine Symphony is the Jewish Symphony. In slide 5, the 1948 Palestine Post is the Jewish newspaper. The American Christian Palestine Committee chairman recorded, quote, "The Arab population of Palestine was small and limited until Jewish resettlement restored the barren lands and drew to it Arabs from neighboring countries," unquote. James Parks, in A History of Palestine from 135 AD to Modern Times, published in 1949, stated, quote, "When organized Jewish colonization began in 1882, there were fewer than 150,000 Arabs in the land." That's from the Jordan to the Mediterranean. The great majority of the Arab population in recent decades, remember he's writing in 1949, recent decades, were comparative newcomers. The 1930 British commissioned Hope Simpson report criticized the British government for allowing the large-scale Arab immigration. Quote, "This illegal immigration was not only going on from the Sinai, but also from Transjordan and Syria." The Syrian governor recorded that in a few months in 1933, some 30,000 Syrians moved into Palestine. President Roosevelt observed that between 1921 and 39, Arab immigration, quote, "has vastly exceeded the total Jewish immigration during the whole period." In slide number 6, we see Joseph's tomb in 1894. And then in slide number 7, Joseph's tomb in the middle of the ancient Jewish town of Shechem, now called Nablus, the Arab town. The world powers allowed the British to betray their legal charge to facilitate the return of the Jewish people to their homeland. Instead, the British blocked the Jews up to, during, and after the Holocaust, while allowing the entry of a huge number of Arabs. The UN inherited the functions of the League of Nations. Its charter guarantees rights derived from mandates never expire, Article 80. Nevertheless, the General Assembly illegally recommended the partition plan, chopping off half of what had been left to the Jews of the land west of the Jordan River. Because the Arabs refused the partition plan, it gained no legal status. The countries which now vote for an Arab state in Judea and Samaria, referred to as the West Bank, already have confirmed in international law that this land from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean was the Jewish state, as has United States in the Lodge Fish Resolution and the British-American Treaty. In addition to Article 5 of the Palestine Mandate prohibiting the ceding of land to any foreign powers, the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties confirms that all acquired rights derived from mandates never expire. After the 1948 declaration of the modern Jewish state, the Arabs attacked and illegally occupied Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. But all parties agreed that the ceasefire lines would not constitute borders. During these years, 800,000 persecuted Jews fled from Arab countries where they had lived even as long as thousands of years, while fewer Arabs left Palestine, Eretz Yisrael, largely at the behest of their Arab leaders to prepare for the planned massacre of the Jews. In the 1967 defensive war, Israel liberated Judea and Samaria, the eastern part of Jerusalem, the Golan Heights, the Gaza Strip, and captured the Sinai Peninsula. In slide number 9, and the unjust Jewish occupation of Arab land, we see the one tiny Jewish country in the world among a huge landmass of only some of the Arab countries. In 1977, Zakir Hussein, a PLO leader, said, quote, "The Palestinian people does not exist. The creation of a Palestinian state is only a means for continuing our struggle against the state of Israel." In slide number 10, we see the European Union illegal funding of illegal building in Judea and Samaria. In slide number 11, we see the late Howard Grief with his masterpiece on Israel's legal rights. Along with the great Christian lawyer Dr. Jacques Gauthier, Howard Grief has opened our eyes to the significance of the San Remo Resolution and Israel's legal rights. We thank Minister Baird, the Canada-Israel Interparliamentary Committee, and Prime Minister Harper's government for their moral courage. We ask the Canadian government to acknowledge the legal commitment it made, as outlined in the petition by Howard Grief for the reaffirmation of Jewish legal rights to the land of Israel and former mandated Palestine, previously assented to by Canada in 1922. I ask you all to please consider signing the petition on the table, asking Defense Minister Kenny to help save the Yazidi people and the other minorities from radical Islamic terrorism in the Middle East. In previous generations, massacres were enacted against the Jews under the false blood libel, claiming that we kidnapped, murdered, and drank the blood of Christian children. During the Holocaust, the Mufti of Jerusalem and the Nazis made a deal to prevent the Jews from reaching Israel in order to break once and for all the bond between the Jews and Palestine. The Mufti's disciples have unleashed a blood land libel against the Jewish people now, falsely claiming that there is an Arab people who have national rights to a state in Palestine, and that the Jews have stolen their land and persecute their people. The PA and Hamas are open about their goal to annihilate all of Israel. This genocidal false accusation of illegal Israeli occupation debilitates our children, who hear all around them that we have become the oppressors. This lust for Jewish blood, fantasized rewards of homicide, suicide, celebration of kidnapping and murder of Jewish teenagers, firebombing of toddlers. We know that young Adele just passed away. Hundreds of attacks inside Israel monthly. Today, a man was saved because the mayor of Jerusalem just happened to be passing by when an Arab stuck a knife into a Jewish man, and he had his bodyguard with him, the mayor. 20,000 rockets sent to civilian sites. This coveting of a sliver of land belonging to the remnant of a persecuted Jewish people. This lying and perverting molding of their children into psychopaths in order to steal the Jewish homeland and massacre its people is driven by radical Islam. It is the same radical Islam which burns to death, beheads, rapes, massacres, enslaves in the Middle East, and targets all the free world, especially and including our Yazidi friends and their community. We all need to come together to fight for our survival and our common goals of human rights and dignity.